Hello. Hey guys. Let me just go ahead and transition over because I don't think we need to worry about the timer anymore. How you guys doing? It is Thursday here, so happy Thanksgiving to those who celebrate in the US. It's Wednesday, I think, for most of you guys, though, so not quite there yet. But getting there. I apologize if I sound a little gross. I'm still kind of getting over the smoke from yesterday. That shit was no joke. It was pretty scary. So, and now I'm feeling it in my nose and my eyeballs. So hopefully I'll be able to get rid of that soon. Based on what she wrote in Muses, I will check that out after stream. But yeah, how are you guys doing? We're coming to the holiday weekend, at least in the U.S. I know a lot of people are going to be taking a little time off work, doing family stuff. I'm glad we're safe. Me too. It was legit scary. I'm not gonna lie. And I'll go ahead and tell the story because it's interesting. I think it's a nice microcosm of Australian experience. So, really the only natural disaster they have here is bushfires, but those are absolutely no joke. And like entire towns have been wiped off the map by bushfires. Street signs melted, paint on the road melted off, things like that. So, and like the little embers can travel like several kilometers at a time through the air, and like especially at this time of year, it's so hot and so dry that it's just a tinderbox. So they do not mess around when there's a fire. And this time of year, you get a lot of them, little ones popping up that are really no huge deal. They're just like, you can smell them, like you go outside and you smell smoke and you're like, oh, there's a fire somewhere. But it's not the end of the world. It's just, it's just one of those things. You just smell the smoke and it's like, oh, okay, it's that time of year. So yesterday, I finished my stream and I was, editing audios and stuff, and Lupus was over in FT doing his thing. And I smelled smoke, and I was like, oh, here we go again. It's burning somewhere. About 10 minutes after that, I hear the helicopters and sirens going off. And my first thought, being from Florida, was that it was a manhunt. Because usually if you hear sirens and helicopters in your neighborhood, that means they're looking for somebody. But then I heard Lupus on stream say something about needing to go check on this because it might be a fire. And I was like, oh. So I met him out in the middle of the house, and we went outside together and looked in the backyard. And that's when I took the video that I posted to Discord. And it was just this massive wall of smoke, like 2 blocks from our house. And the helicopters were up, and there were 2 of them flying water back and forth, just desperately trying to get this thing under control. And there are several schools in the area, so people were freaking out. So he pulls up the app he has to track fires on his phone. And there's this massive red rectangle like over our whole neighborhood that says act to survive, which is basically, this is a catastrophic emergency, get out. And they said, do not wait and see, because that's the problem. If you wait and see what's going to happen with a fire, chances are you're not going to, your stuff's shit. So we run back in the house. He goes and ends his stream, says, sorry guys, we have to evacuate. We start, grabbing our go bags, grabbing our passports, things like that. And we're pretty prepared because, again, since I used to live in Florida, I've always had like a hurricane go bag ready to go. And I just kept doing it here because you never know. And he's always prepared. So we pretty much had everything, threw it all in the car, grabbed our computers as well, and headed for his sister's. And it was maybe 20 minutes from the time we smelled smoke to the time we pulled out of the driveway. And looking down the street, all of our neighbors were doing the same thing. They were all loading stuff in the car, getting the fuck out. There were a lot of people on the road trying to get to the schools because, parents trying to get their kids out. So that was clogging everything up. But we got out, we got through. And while we were leaving, I started posting to the Discords, letting people know that we were okay, that we were getting out. And then we just had to wait and see if our house was going to make it through. So we hung out at his sister's, which was fun. I got to spend time with Albie, my favorite dog. And, just kind of played games and waited and just kept checking the app, checking the status, watching, because they started marking out like the burned areas and stuff. And they were all just so close to our house. But there were so many fire crews on the ground. Like, again, this is no joke. They take it very, very seriously. They were on it because, this shit spreads so, so fast. And we were seeing, like, news footage of it and stuff like that. And then finally they downgraded us to watch and wait, which basically meant, like, if you've already left, don't come back. But if you're still here, you don't necessarily have to evacuate. And we were like, screw it, let's go home. Because we were like, watch and wait. We're probably fine. So we grabbed all of our stuff and went back to the house, which was still standing. The streets around our house were mostly blocked off with emergency crews. They were still working. They were still, trying to keep it under control, making sure that it wasn't about to spark up again, because it does sometimes. But the helicopters were finally down, and the wall of smoke was mostly gone. So we thought it was pretty safe, and basically got back settled in the house. It was still pretty smoky, and you could kind of like that wet, sooty smell. And then, like, just from breathing the smoke all morning, like I said, I'm still pretty gross right now. My eyes burn, and my throat's really raw. But we made it. Our stuff made it. Our fish lived. Like, literally driving out, like, pulling up our renter's insurance policy on my phone to make sure it's all up to date and everything, which of course it is. It's on auto debit, but, like, you never know. So yeah, that was that adventure. It was the first time either of us has ever had to evacuate for a fire before, and who knows, may not be the last, but at least we know we can do it now. So good job, everybody. And Lupus, he was great. He's very take charge, and he's got his army background and stuff, so, like, he's definitely somebody you want to be in a foxhole with, which is nice. And then we were just completely exhausted in the evening, because, like, the reality of it kind of crashes down. The adrenaline drops, from rushing around to stay alive, and then you're just like, I'm tired. So yeah, it was a much closer call than I think we wanted it to be. Like, and it happened so fast, like, we just go from, I smell some smoke, to holy shit, we have to go, in such a short time. And just, knowing that, like, it's right there, and you may not see your house again, like, I'm sort of mentally cataloging, like, I know what you're supposed to do, and this is something you should all do if you haven't already done it. Take, like, your phone and just walk around, take video of the inside of your house, and as you take the video, describe what you're looking at. So don't just say, 46-inch TV, say what brand it is, say, as much as you can, be as detailed as you can, because when it comes down to payouts for insurance companies, if you just say a TV, they will give you, like, the bare minimum for that TV, but if you give them the brand and all the information, then they have to reimburse for that, like, official, that product, that specific brand and product. So be as specific as you can, and keep those records and keep them updated, things like that. We did have our go bags ready to go. We did have our passports and stuff ready to go, so that was easy. Most documents are digital now, so as long as you can access those things, it's okay. It's more about, like, the replacement value of your stuff if anything ever happens. So, and we had plenty of coverage, but, like, they're not just going to give you a lump sum of coverage. They're going to reimburse for individual items. So, and that would have been exhausting, just coming up with a list of everything that we lost if the house had burned. Lupus's motorcycle, all of our furniture, all of our clothes. It would have been just almost impossible to remember everything. So yeah, definitely do that if you haven't. And of course, if you don't have insurance, get it, especially if you're just renting, because renter's insurance is very reasonable, at least in the States. And it's worth it. It's worth it if anything happens to your place. So yeah. So there's that. That was our adventure in fleeing a bushfire yesterday. Yay. Man. Now I'm going to look at the chat and see what you guys are saying. Albie looks kind of stoned. Well, I was holding a treat above him, and he was right under a skylight. So he was looking up at the tree, but squinting into the sun. So, yeah, it was a terrible picture. But he doesn't like to hold still for pictures. So he was very, very happy to see us there. He was very excited. Like, a surprise play date. So that was fun. Australia also gets crazy dust storms. In certain parts of Australia, yeah. Obviously the middle of Australia is uninhabitable and very dusty and gets a lot of that. Where we are in Australia, we generally don't get dust storms too bad. But we're on the west side of the scarp, so pretty shielded. Urban nymph, what about city nymph? That I'm sorry, I don't understand why that's a joke. Huh, interesting. There are no bad pictures of Albie. I don't know about that. Whatever. He's Albie, he's sweet. He got dog hair all over me. He tried very hard to get Lupus's attention like he always does, and Lupus is like, nah. So, it's somebody's birthday today? Okay, whose birthday is it? But yeah, so it's Thursday here, it's Thanksgiving here. I did come back, after we came back last night, I did that thing where I keep myself very busy and just do stuff. So I made the pumpkin pies that I wanted to make for today, since I'm kind of doing like a little bit of a Thanksgiving thing. I got some turkey, I got some potatoes I'm gonna mash, things like that. But I knew I needed to make the pie in advance because they don't have canned pumpkin here. Not really. Like some places you can find it, but it's very expensive. They do, however, sell basically just pumpkin, just like raw pumpkin, because people will use it to make soup and stuff for some reason. Like pumpkin is very popular here, but only for things like soup and like grilled pumpkin. They don't use it to make pie and like pumpkin bread. It's very strange. So I got pumpkin, like chunks, pre-cut chunks of pumpkin. So I had to cook those and then make my own puree, basically. So I did that, and Lupus helped me do that. And then I tried a new recipe to make the pies, since I didn't have a can with a recipe on the back that I could use. And yeah, I made little pies like in ramekins. I didn't even bother with the crust. I said, fuck it, I'm not gonna do crust. So I just like basically made pumpkin custard in ramekins. I hope they're okay. I haven't tried it. They smell really good. But yeah, fingers crossed that making my own puree actually worked out. So this is the most from scratch pumpkin pie I've ever made. And yeah, I hope it worked out okay. You don't know who, but somebody had to be before today. Very funny. Grilled pumpkin. Yeah, grilled pumpkin is very popular here. Like slices of pumpkin on the grill kind of thing. Who's Lupus? Lupus is a streamer and my roommate, my very, very, very good friend. And yeah, that's Lupus. Lupus Arkham. He also has YouTube channel. He's Lupus. He's my Lupus. An occasional antagonist. Yeah, that's fair. Occasionally. But it's all in good fun. We were both kind of sore yesterday, so we did some yoga on the floor of his office because he's got that big VR space. And it's such a bummer that he had to jump out of VR early for the fire, because it was supposed to be like a pretty emotional session for him, for his character. But nope, evacuation comes first. So hopefully tomorrow they can catch up, get it sorted. Assuming that they actually do have a session. Now that I think about it, I'm not sure, because Thanksgiving. So we'll see. I didn't even think to ask. Whatever Thanksgiving is today. Yeah, I know it's Wednesday for most of you guys. It's Thursday here. And even though we don't celebrate Thanksgiving in Australia, which my dad is a very smart man, and he's a doctor, but sometimes he's surprisingly dense. And he, like many people, texted to ask if Australia has Thanksgiving, and like my knee-jerk response is of course not, it's an American holiday. But then I realized some countries do celebrate some form of Thanksgiving. It's just not necessarily on the same day or for the same reasons. And yeah, American Thanksgiving is rather fraught as far as the history of it and things like that. So last year I didn't even bother celebrating it here, to be honest, but this year I thought, well, we'll at least eat the food part. And so I said, no, Thanksgiving is a pilgrim thing, Dad, in America, and we don't do that here. And he's like, well, this country does this, and this country does this, and Canada has Thanksgiving, and China recognizes a Thanksgiving Day, and blah, blah. I was like, yeah, no, this is Australia. We don't have a Thanksgiving. We don't have the equivalent of a Thanksgiving. We celebrate Australia Day and Anzac Day and the King's birthday and things like that, but not Thanksgiving. So yeah. How did Lupus and I meet? We actually met through some friends we were all like in that same like streamer space, streamers and VAs, and just kind of got friendly and hit it off, and then after a while just got more and more friendly. I guess just kind of gradually developed. And then I came to visit, and we hit it off even more and decided we wanted to try living together. So here we are. It's been a year and a half almost of living in the same house and not killing each other, so I think that's a perk. So yeah. And actually, I meant to tell you guys, I think Sunday we're going to go down and spend a couple days with Lupus's mom, so I probably won't be doing New Week, New Game this week. I know you're incredibly heartbroken over it, but we need a break. We've been going really hard lately, and I don't want either of us to burn out. So it's troubling when we're both workaholics. We're really bad at this, but we definitely need to step away for a couple of days and just chill. So hopefully we won't have any bushfires down there while we're visiting her. But yeah, we're gonna spend a couple of days, just hopefully a couple of days. If not, just one night at the very least. Just get out and possibly go back to Gnomesville. Take some footage in the light without the rain and stuff, like bright sunny Gnomesville day. So stay tuned for that, because I'll bring the GoPro if we do that, and get some fun live action footage so that we can add it to the live action YouTube channel, Adventures with Loop and Ree, which currently only has a couple of videos on it because we've only gone on a couple of hikes since I set up that channel. But yes, I will get some fun Gnomesville footage. I have a gnome to bring. It's not Steve. We have a different gnome to bring. He's awful, the Gnominator. I can't stand him. I can't wait to get rid of him, so we'll take him to Gnomesville. A few colors, Kalana. Well, my two favorite colors are like purple and like turquoise, like a deep turquoise. Purple and turquoise are by far my two favorite colors, and they play pretty nicely together. So obviously the channel colors are green and purple because I couldn't really make turquoise work in the logo, but maybe I didn't try hard enough. But it's too late now. It's been 4 years. This is the brand. Time away to let the mine defrag. Yeah, that's the plan. We'll get away and just breathe a little, maybe go swimming. It's really hot here. It's in the, I think it hit 40 yesterday, Celsius. So not helpful for the fires and the firefighters and stuff, but good for a swim, so I'll probably go swimming. Taking good meds ahead of time. I mean, for the live footage, it's like the same live footage we posted before, you know, just like a slow walk through and take lots of pictures, leave our little gnome friend. Purple, green, and turquoise. I don't super like green. Let me put that out there. I really don't like green all that much. I just used it for the logo of the channel because it fit better, I guess, for the whole like plant motif. Because I made that logo myself, and I fiddled with it a lot before I had something that I liked, so. Can I clear up a timeline question for VR? In the prologue, Angel interviewed as if they were new acquaintances, but in a later episode, VR says they knew each other before becoming... Okay, so the prologue one was kind of non-canon. It was like a bonus thing. It was... The context for that one, I want to say, was like a... I think that might have been for a fundraiser or something, where if we hit the goal, there was going to be some bonus content. So it was like pseudo-canon, if I'm remembering right, and granted it's been a while. But I think at the time my intention was for that to be like, this would be a cute, like if it had happened this way sort of thing. But if you need to justify it in your head, it could easily be one of the situations where people sort of know of each other, and like they know of each other, they kind of know each other, like they run in the same circles, but they don't know each other well enough to live together until you really sit down and like have a conversation, you know, like that's, which I think is fair, because a lot of times, like, at the roommates I've had in the past, like in college and stuff, like there are people I kind of knew, or I knew of, or I'd heard about through other people or whatever. Maybe I'd like cross paths in a class or something, but I certainly didn't know them well enough to live with them until I sat down and like talked to them, like, okay, like, is this gonna work? Are we gonna vibe okay together? You know, that kind of thing. So if you want it to be 100% canon, it could be like that. But at the time, I think I meant for it to be just something kind of cute and one-offy. Makes you think of an eggplant. It's a pretty wide little eggplant. Yeah, you do you, boo. You always lighten up my phone. Ah. It's Halo. Halo's lighting up my phone. You guys know Halo. I've seen some fat eggplants, eh? I don't actually like eggplant. I wish I did. I wish I liked most vegetables, because then I could eat them and not eat the things that I do eat. But, yeah, we ended up getting pasta cup last night for dinner because I could not be bothered to cook after I wrangled all that pumpkin. And then I got very, very tired from the stress of the day. And it was like, fuck it. So we ordered pasta cup, which is mostly Italian, but like convenient, like fast Italian. And, watched World's End, so we finally finished the Cornetto trilogy, which honestly World's End might be my favorite one. It's really, really good. If you haven't watched it, I highly recommend, but really have some fun with the symbolism because everything means something. I mean, obviously watch Hot Fuzz and Shaun of the Dead first, but yeah, World's End is really, really, really worth the watch. Sydney summer sucks. Yeah. Sorry, guys. Summer full stop sucks here. It's very, very hot. And I do feel bad for anybody that has to work outside in this weather. I felt bad for the firefighters yesterday. They were out there in their full gear fighting that brush fire. But they got it. They got that fire under control. Hydrate. Yeah. Yeah, World's End is the one where they go through the 12 pubs. Yes. And it's very, very worth it. Yeah, highly recommend. I mean, it's weird, just like they're all weird. You know, Hot Fuzz is weird, Shaun of the Dead is weird. Shaun of the Dead is almost the most straightforward one as far as the weirdness, because, like, you know what you're in for. It's a zombie movie. The other two, a little less predictably weird, but definitely worth it. So, I didn't have any like games or anything planned for today. I thought we would just hang out and talk and vibe and relax, because if it is your holiday week and you're finally wrapping up work or something, or getting ready to dive into the family stuff tomorrow or whatever, this is your chance to chill before all that happens. Oh, goodness. Stretched. And just decompress. I think we all kind of need to decompress a little bit. I will still be doing the patron pick game night tomorrow. It looks like you guys want more of that puzzle game with the doll and the bear, which really kind of surprises me, but okay. I don't fully anticipate a whole lot of people showing up for that, I'll be honest, because I realize, you know, Thanksgiving, a lot of people are going to be busy, but just in case, I will do it. And then, of course, this weekend, Friday night, we've got the return of Aussie Dashcam Bingo over on Twitch. So again, if you don't follow me on Twitch, you definitely should. I stream there like 5 days a week. And Lupus and I are going to be hosting a new and improved version of Dashcam Bingo. I've made bingo cards with more things on them, and this time there should not be any duplicate bingo cards. This time it should definitely be one per person, because the site that makes the cards, I paid them the little extra fee to get more cards and have them be dedicated to individual people by name. So that way I feel better about letting you guys like play for prizes and stuff like that. So yes, Aussie Dashcam Bingo. What is my favorite piece of 40K lore? Oh my gosh. I don't know if I have a favorite piece. Honestly, like as far as just being delighted by it, I super love the story of Grizz Guts going back in time to get his favorite gun by shooting himself in the past because he thought that would mean he would have 2 guns. And, you know, that ended with predictable results. But, like, just the logic there of, I like this gun so much that if I go back in time and shoot my younger self who also has that gun, then I will have 2 guns. And, like, really? Really, buddy? Oh, yeah. Retail workers, you guys are going to have a rough weekend, and I'm very sorry about it. I try to do most of my shopping online. I'm sorry, you guys. Have I seen Franbo? I have not. I have not seen Franbo. Got an Instagram? I do. I don't post to it terribly often, and when I do, it's usually like flowers or food, but you are certainly welcome to check it out. It's Urban Nymph 2019. So, yeah. It's there. And messages. What is it? Oh, it's a reel. Okay, I'll watch that later. My brother sends me a lot of things. A lot of things on Instagram, which is totally fine. Sometimes I feel bad because I feel like I don't have time to watch them all. But yes, he sends me lots of things. Halo is one of my mods. He's a mod here. He's a mod on Discord. He's a mod on Twitch. And the only reason he's not here is because he's with his family in Pennsylvania. So, gearing up for the holiday weekend. And yes, he is a very good friend. Most underappreciated sci-fi or fantasy property. I mean, I'm always going to say like Stargate SG-1 for that. Just because I feel like not enough people have seen it, and if they did, they would like it as much as I do. But I don't know if it counts as underappreciated so much as just sort of underviewed. Maybe. So yeah, Stargate SG-1. My usual thing for a sore throat. I don't really have a specific thing. I'll take like a painkiller, ideally an NSAID to bring the inflammation down. So like an Advil or a Motrin or something like that. Here they have Nurofen, same thing. Lozenges are good. Even if you don't have like a medicated lozenge, even a hard candy works because the enzymes in your saliva will help numb your throat just by sucking on it. So that's something. If I have the spray stuff like Chloraseptic, if it's bad enough, I will use it. Like that is an indicator of how bad my throat hurts if I finally break down and use the Chloraseptic. But I don't think we have that here. I don't think Chloraseptic is a thing here. It's always fun to me to figure out like what medications exist here and what don't, and how to get the things I don't have. Like Pepto-Bismol, not a thing here. I don't know why. It's like the simplest, oldest, pink bismuth stomach coating medication, but nope, not a thing. So, weird. Jafar Cree, yes. Your Rogue Energy order shipped. Yay! Yeah, thank you guys. Anybody who's ordered some Rogue Energy to try. I'm actually I'm pretty excited about that. And if you don't know, if anybody here doesn't know, I just recently partnered with Rogue Energy because I really like caffeine, and I feel like a lot of you guys also like caffeine, and Diet Coke is not everybody's jam, and I recognize that. I mean, I could tell you guys to drink Diet Coke, but that doesn't mean you will. Plus, Diet Coke, surprisingly little caffeine in it. Like, so much less than a cup of coffee. And I don't like coffee, and I don't like tea. But I like caffeine. So, like, what choice does that leave me? Diet Coke or energy drinks? And I don't like things like Red Bull and Monster. I just don't like the taste of them. But, when Rogue Energy reached out and they were like, hey, we got caffeine. Would you like to be a partner? And I'm like, that does appeal to me. And they were like, and what I liked about it was that they were like, don't agree with us yet. Just let us like send you some samples to try. And so they sent me like a whole starter pack with like the shaker cup and the samples and stuff. And, you know, if you like it, then partner with us. And I was like, okay, that actually sounds fair. And I did like it. I haven't tried the ones that aren't caffeinated yet because I will be perfectly honest, that sounds like an incredible waste of time for me. But I know some people can't have caffeine or don't want caffeine, so those exist. The hydration stuff exists, even if you don't want the caffeine. That for me, bring on the goddamn caffeine, man. I need it. And it's about the same as a cup of coffee, so I tried it, and yeah, surprisingly good. The sour candy one, really surprisingly sour. Like, I did not expect that. It reminds me of, like I said, I think I said this the other day, it reminds me of going out to like a bar and having like a really fruity drink with your friends, but it's like a really tart fruity drink. It reminds me of that. Like, Lupus and I both tried it and we're like, whew, that is surprisingly sour for a drink. Like, it's just an energy drink. And that's not to say you can't drink it. Like, I did finish it, but like, I don't know if I would drink that during a workout or something, like to stay hydrated. It's a lot. The blue raspberry was really good. The rocket pop was surprisingly good, but I can't put my finger on why. Like, there's a definite flavor there, and I can't identify it. It's fruity for sure, but like, it's good. I just don't know what the hell it is. The strawberry lemonade one was kind of weak compared to those other ones, I'll be honest. And I haven't tried the grape yet, but Zeke says the grape is pretty meh. So, you know, we'll see. So, yes. Trying to cut down. So, how was the crash after? I didn't have any crash. Yeah, I did not notice a crash, which is nice. I drink it in the afternoon. Like, I'll make it like I'll let myself have one like shaker cup of it a day. And I drink it in the afternoon because that's when I get the most sleepy and the most like worn out. I tend to be very, very busy in the morning and then just kind of run myself ragged and then not. So if I'm going to get through my workouts and stuff, it's like a slog. So yeah, I drink it in the afternoon and it tends to carry me through pretty much till bedtime, I think, which isn't bad. I wouldn't suggest drinking it like too close to bedtime. That doesn't sound like a smart idea, but then you wouldn't do that with coffee either. So yeah, I dig it. I did tweet about it, and I did add the link to, like, where did I put the link? Fuck if I know. Yeah, my brain's kind of melty. Today's the last day for 30% off with my code, but honestly, their Black Friday deals are better. So just, like, you can just use my referral link to like, take advantage of their deals, their Black Friday deals. And then I'll still get the credit for the referral, even if you don't use my code. And then you guys can get some good deals. And after today and like after Black Friday and all that, my code will be worth, I think, 20%. Yeah, definitely 20% off going forward forever. But yeah, so I need to actually reorder some myself. And they ship to every country except like 6 countries. They don't ship to Belgium or Mexico or like Monaco or something. There's like 6 countries where the import rules are way too strict, but everything else totally fine. So yeah, I'm pretty excited about it. I've never had a sponsorship before or like a partnership before. I've had lots of companies approach me for them, but like most of the time they just don't seem like a good fit, you know. And I don't ever want to hit you guys with stuff that you're not going to want or you're not going to use. It's just going to be stupid, you know, advertising bullshit. But this was like, hey, caffeine. And I can get behind that. So, and plus, like, anything that I can do to help you guys get access to stuff that you will actually use and enjoy and then get a discount on it on top of that, like, yes, that's fine. I'm there for that. That's cool. So it's there. They've added me to their Twitch team, so I guess they're happy with me. So I've got that now. And yeah, that's kind of where we are. So far, so good. Like I said, blue raspberry was surprisingly tasty. That's probably the next one I'm going to order. I wish it didn't take like 3 weeks for stuff to get to Australia. Like, that's frustrating. But yeah, beyond that. Have I tried the Brazilian? Yeah, I actually have. One of my friends back in the States is married to a Brazilian woman. And so I've tried a lot of Brazilian stuff. And I don't super like that soda. That's like the apple flavored one, right? Yeah, I don't super love it, but that's fine. Everybody's got their own preferences. Like some of the flavors that I've tried with the Rogue Energy, like Lupus hasn't really cared for them because I have him try all of it too to see what he thinks. He's okay with some. He prefers gamer subs. That's his thing, and I'm like, that's cool, whatever, that's fine. And to be honest, I don't super love gamer subs, at least not the flavors he gets in. They're fine, they taste okay, but I don't know if I would sit and drink a whole shaker cup of them, you know? So, and I don't think gamer subs have caffeine, at least not the ones he gets in, which again makes me go, but what's the point then? It's like you're drinking water, ew. No, if you can't have caffeine or you don't want caffeine, that's totally fine. Caffeine-free options are a thing. Just me personally, God, I love caffeine. Yeah, I wish I liked coffee and tea. I do, but I can't get around the taste of them. Can't do it. Let's see. Couldn't picture me as a coffee. Yeah, I've never been a coffee person. The handful of times I've ever drunk coffee, I've had to add so much sweetener and like cream to it to make it palatable. And at that point, it's just not coffee anymore. It's just sort of there. Milk. Sweet milk. This episode of Vampire Roommates brought to you by Rage Chat. Okay, so the funny thing about that, when I still had only like 1,000 subscribers on YouTube, like my channel was barely a month old, Raid Shadow Legends reached out and offered me like $60 to do a promo for them. And I was like, do you know my channel? Like they must have some sort of like auto thing that just sends to everybody who reaches a certain threshold in YouTube. Because like there's no way they actually looked at my content and said, yeah, that's a good fit. So we had some jokes about that on the server for a while on the Discord and how we would go about doing that, and briefly I changed my name on Discord to Shadow Legends, which people thought was pretty funny. But yeah, never taking a raid sponsorship. God damn. No pulp on the orange juice. I don't want to chew my drinks. I don't mind it if it's there, but I'd rather not. So yeah. I am considering doing another sponsorship only because it's something that I really want to do. The HelloFresh one. I really want to get back into using those subscription boxes for food because for me it's like less about the convenience, even though technically it is convenient. It's also about like learning new recipes and trying new things like that because I've been such a recipe rut lately, you guys. I keep making like the same 4 things. And when I do branch out, it doesn't always work out great. Like I branched out and made like a beef and broccoli stir fry the other day, and Lupus said it was okay, but like he thought it was pretty salty. I think there was too much soy sauce in it or something. But like, I don't know. I try to find new recipes. We have a couple of recipe books. We've got like one of Babish's books and Josh Weissman's books, but like I kind of page through them and nothing really grabs me. But when I used to do those like subscription food boxes in Florida, I learned I learned how to make meatballs that had raisins in them, which sounds terrible, but oh my God, they were so good. Like meatballs with golden raisins inside. Surprisingly good. Like over rice. Yeah, I know. So I was like, I learned so many cool recipes, and you can like keep the recipes even if you don't like keep the subscription box after that. Like I just had like a stack of recipes that I'd gotten out of my subscription boxes like in my kitchen that I could use, and they were so good. Like, so yeah, something like that I might do because like I think it'd be cool, and I've had really good experiences with those things in the past. So, and usually they give really good deals for like new signups on those things, especially if you do it through like a sponsor. So like for that, it's probably very worth it. So yeah, I will look into that. But like I said before, if I do like a HelloFresh type one, it would probably only be for like 30 days. Those usually have a stop on them. So whereas the Rogue Energy one, that's in perpetuity as far as I know, as long as they still like me. I can't remember if they were beef. They might have been pork, or maybe a combination of beef and pork. I don't know. I don't remember. I just remember golden raisins. And when I got the recipe, I was like, go home, food box, you're high. But then like I tried it and it was like, shit, this is nice. And the other thing those boxes taught me was to salt and pepper a little bit at every step, which I'd never done before. And yeah, that does help. Like if you want your food to taste more like a restaurant, a little salt and pepper at every step surprisingly does work. Because I was following the recipe and it's like, wait, salt and pepper again? Salt and pepper again? And like I'm going down like, oh, I get what you're doing. Like that seems to be one of like the restaurant-y type hacks. So yeah, meatballs with raisins. It's a thing. Yeah. Keep the recipes. No, I mean, that was just part of the fun for me was that like they would send the box with all the food in it with a recipe card. And I'm like, okay, make it once. And then I'm holding this recipe card like, I could just go to the store and buy this. Like I could just go buy these ingredients. But the downside was like, the good thing about the recipe or the food boxes, they would send you just enough to make like this food for 2 people. If I went to the shops to get it, I would have to buy like for the spices, I'd have like a whole jar of spice instead of just like a little packet, which would be in the box, which that was also helpful for me having the pre-measured ingredients because like, you guys know if you find a recipe that you really want to try, but you need to go buy the ingredients, like you can't just buy the ingredients for that one recipe. You've got to buy like the entire jar of oregano or you know, this entire package of something that you're only going to use like 2 pieces of. And it's like, what am I going to do with this now? So like that was something else I really liked about it because I could toss everything and just be done with it. But if I really liked a recipe enough, like the raisins one, I could go buy the ingredients, like a whole ass box of golden raisins and be like, okay, how many meatballs can I make with this? So like that for me was a selling point that I could like choose to keep the recipe and do it again or just be like, well, that was fun. Check it in the trash. So yeah. A Rogue Energy drink ad read. I don't have any ad copy for them, I don't think. I guess I could look. I should probably do a better job of representing, shouldn't I? Yeah, I don't want to buy so much. Yeah, for me that's a huge issue. Like if I'm just cooking for myself or like myself and Lupus, I don't want to have to buy enough of like one particular spice like that would last me. Like that jar is going to sit in my fucking pantry forever, especially if the recipe ends up sucking. Like if I'm trying something new and it kind of sucks and we don't ever want to make it again. Because every time I make a new recipe, we eat it and then I turn to him like, all right, what do we think? And are we going to make it again? Like it's one thing if you like it or not. It's another thing if you like it enough to make it again. And a lot of things, the answer is, probably not. Like, it's okay to eat for a meal, but I'm not going to go out of my way to make that again. Which means now I've got all this shit in my pantry I don't need. So, yay. For eating foods and cooking. I mean, who doesn't, right? Like, I like cooking, don't get me wrong, but just sitting and eating it is by far the best part. So, today I'm going to... The turkey I got is just like a carved, like a pre-carved turkey breast. Like, it's just the breast meat. So I'll just probably put that like in a saucepan and heat it up. I've got some gravy. The potatoes I'll make from scratch. The green beans are just like frozen. I don't like green beans, but Lupus does, so I'll just make some green beans for him. And then cranberry sauce, which is in a jar. So, okay. I guess it's meant to be like spooned out like jam and put on stuff. So, sure. And what else? I got some rolls, but they're not the right rolls. I want crescent rolls, but they still don't have like Pillsbury dough here, so I can't get the proper crescent rolls. Just got like dinner rolls. It's very depressing. If you cook, so much goes to waste. Exactly, yeah. When I lived by myself in Florida, that was part of the issue. And again, that was one of the things I liked about those boxes, because I could make, like, you can set it to be like, okay, send me the food for 2 people, and then I could like cook it and eat one portion and then like save the other portion for like leftovers the next day. Or if I really liked it, I could eat both portions like a big pig, and then it's gone. Then everything in it is gone. So I liked that. Saved me a lot of hassle. Because, yeah, living by yourself or even just with one other person, there's a lot of food waste. Like, a lot of food waste. I try to go through it. I've got, like, chicken in the fridge. And here especially, like, there's fewer preservatives in the food here than there are in the States. So things go bad so fast. Like, that was one of the learning curves I had when I moved here. Is just how fast, like, bread especially. Bread and, like, fruit and stuff would just disintegrate. And I was like, Jesus Christ. Like, you can't really pre-buy much of anything. Like, you have to kind of do your shop a couple times a week to make sure nothing is rotten. So, yeah. Staples that will outlast the apocalypse. Like, yeah, we've got lots of rice. I've got pasta. He doesn't like pasta, but I've got pasta. But yeah, like a lot of stuff in the freezer. We do a lot of like potato wedges and stuff like that in the air fryer, because then, you know, stuff can stay frozen until you cook it. The air fryer gets a lot of use around here for good reason. I'll probably bust it out again for lunch. I've got some chicken tenderloins in there I need to cook. So, what up, goobers? Oh my god, it's a Victoria. So yeah. So I'll probably do the HelloFresh one. I might wait a week or two to do it, but yeah, because they do give really surprisingly good deals on new signups when you do it through somebody's like affiliate code. And I would love to give you guys a chance to do that because, like I said, I've only had good experiences with those things. And like, I think my mom did it too for a while. And I think it frustrated her only because she felt kind of like limited. Because you can choose the recipes you want. They give you a whole list to choose from. But she likes very specific things and, you know, likes them a certain way. So, like, my parents are not they're not the kind of people that I could take to like a sushi train or an Indian restaurant. Like, there's entire cuisines that they just kind of don't like. And that's fine. Like that's their preference. That's cool. But it's also very limiting. So, appropriate time to suggest an audio. You can always suggest audios. You guys can always make suggestions or whatever. I actually have an entire channel on the Discord specifically for that. If people have ideas, recommendations, doesn't mean I'm going to do it. The only people that can, you know, push on me are the Olympians. But and even then, we always talk it out and make sure it's something I can actually do. Because when it comes to audios, I'm pretty open as long as it's, you know, A, within my brand and, like, style, and B, logistically possible. And that tends to come down to things like soundscaping and being able to tell the story in this format, which isn't always that easy. So, man. So, yeah. Let's do this. Let's do this. Yes, there we go. There we go. Okay, cool. Just make sure that was open. Let's see. Yeah, my Discord is only for patrons and Twitch subs, and the reason for that is that well, there's a couple of reasons for that. One, it's a perk. It's a perk for people that support me in that way, because it is such a safe and wholesome place. It's become a really nice, caring community, and that would absolutely change if I made it public. The vibe would completely change. So to keep it safe, to keep it protected, and I know this based entirely on things like the DMs I receive from random people and stuff like that. Like I know, and that doesn't mean we haven't had issues. We've had a few times in the past where we've had to ban people for, you know, being inappropriate or whatever, but by and large, keeping it slightly paywalled. And even then, like, if you get a gift sub on Twitch, you can still access it. You don't actually have to spend your own money if you get a gift sub on Twitch, but like, still having that slight barrier to entry helps maintain a fairly, you know, controlled and safe space where everybody can really genuinely be comfortable and look after each other and share stuff, and that comes down to the community entirely. Like, I and I've talked about this a million times, but you guys have built such an amazing community there and have kept it such a wonderful place to be. And I love that. Like, that's entirely on you guys. And I'm very, very grateful that you guys keep it going like that. So, yeah. Yeah, it would be a very different vibe if just anybody could join, unfortunately. And then we lose that perk access. And the times that I've talked about potentially shutting the channel down for various reasons, the response tends to be, please don't shut down the Discord. Like, that's the thing that people like the best about being in my community. So, yeah, I will always do what I can. That said, I think it's like $2 on Patreon to get that access. So it's like, it's not a lot. I try to keep it reasonable, but like just enough that we don't get flooded with a bunch of shit, you know? So you can always suggest. You can absolutely always suggest audios. You can suggest them in the comments of existing audios. You can suggest them here. You can suggest them on the Discord. That's always an option. Like I said, doesn't mean I'm going to do it, but you are always welcome to suggest things. Yeah, very occasionally you guys do bully me a little bit, but and to be fair, those are usually pretty funny. Like, I don't mind it. Or if I have a stream where I specifically want your guys' feedback on stuff, like how we built out that symbiote one, was strictly through your guys' suggestions. That was not me at all. Which VA do I like for my own listening? I don't listen to a lot of VAs, I'll be honest. I mean, I used to before I started my own channel, but after I fairly abruptly stopped. I do still listen to a few ASM artists, which are like cameras on, like that kind of thing, like Maria Gentle Whispering is a classic. Honestly, lately I really haven't. Lately I've just been listening to like white noise, like the Hubble Space Telescope sounds of space. So, but yeah, I definitely don't listen to any other VAs. Like, even if I do collabs with them, I generally don't go and listen to the collab because I don't know why. As soon as I started doing it, it made me uncomfortable to listen to other people's, which is perfectly fine because at the very least I'm not contaminating myself, you know. But I'm not accidentally copying anybody or anything like that. It's weird though, because I really have not listened since. So make of that what you will, I guess. Fuzz stumps. Yeah, that was a fun one. We can always bring that one back. Big fan of chows. We're all big fans of chows. Also, Victoria, don't forget, we've got Dashcam Bingo this weekend. We're going to do Dashcam Bingo again. And this time I'm going to try and do like actual prizes. Stickers. I ordered a bunch of stickers. And this time there should not be any duplicate cards. Everybody should be getting their own cards. Hopefully. So yeah, that'll be fun. Have I ever watched a TV show and got an idea for an audio? Not specifically. I'm sure that, I mean, we are all creatures of the media that we consume. We are bombarded all day long with sounds and sights and videos and movies and advertisements and everything else. So it's not that we can separate ourselves from that. It's impossible. It is part of who we are. We are made up of that fabric. So obviously I can't say that I've not been influenced by the media that I consume just like everybody else. That said, I don't think I've ever specifically gone, oh, that was a cool show. I think I'll make an audio about it. Like, I don't think I've ever done that. Because you guys know I steer very, very clear of other people's IP. I don't ever want to use a property I do not own. I will flirt with it in ways like you guys can tell I'm definitely talking about Star Trek even though I don't mention it, or you guys can tell I'm definitely talking about like a Harry Potter type thing even though I don't mention it. Like, you can flirt with those tropes because tropes exist and, you know, universes exist, but as far as actual IP, I'm never going to touch it. So I will never specifically go out of my way to make an audio based on like a TV show or something, but I'm sure I have been inadvertently influenced in that way. Probably more than once. So, yeah. Remove Officeworks from the pool. Oh no, Officeworks is staying in there, baby. Because we've got a whole new crop of videos. And there's always hope. But I added some more things to the pool as well. We got more things to click on. Another installment of Wolfing Out. There have been a couple of those. That's the boyfriend, the listener is the werewolf, yeah. Yeah, I've done a few of those. And of course that couple exists in the vampire roommate universe, so they get referenced a lot. Because they are friends with the vampire roommate and her angel. Good at creating inspired by but legally distinct from audios. Again, tropes exist. Like, I know some things feel very specific to certain properties, but like genres contain tropes, and genres are broad, and like space as a genre, especially like futuristic sci-fi type space, some of those tropes are just like you can't escape them at this point. You know, certain terms, certain vibes, like it's just how it's just that genre is, that it's described that way now. So, and of course you can't copyright a genre, you can't own a trope, so that sort of stuff is always fair game, because kids, we have learned a lot about fair use. And it's always good to know a lot about fair use, no matter what you're doing with your life. Am I gonna sneeze or am I not gonna sneeze? Is there an audio where I put pseudo not space marines? I don't think I've specifically done a 40k one yet. That would be hard to do as far as making something comforting and or cozy. It's yeah. I mean, not that they all have to be comforting or cozy, but it's hard to imagine anything I would do that would fit in the grim dark future kind of, like, nothing is good, everything sucks, it's all hard edges and death. Like, some genres just don't really suit my brand, I guess, but I don't know, maybe for Halloween or something next year. You liked The Time Traveler, you didn't see continuation. Yeah. Couple of reasons for that. One, the Time Traveler story was an Olympian patron that requested that. And most of the time, if a story comes from an Olympian patron, I don't continue it without them. I have done that a few times if they've like basically given me permission to just run with it. But most of the time, I don't. And that particular patron hasn't wanted to do an audio in a while. So I don't feel super comfortable taking that and running with it. There's a couple like that people have asked for more, and I'm not okay with it, because that story was something somebody else came up with, and you know, they wanted it a certain way, and I don't really want to take it and run with it. I mean, if I really, really wanted to, I would ask, but I kind of don't. The other thing is that I have a personal issue with time travel stuff, and I just recently talked about this on a different stream. Time travel stuff is very problematic and paradoxical, and when it comes to the actual science of it, and put it this way, there's no logic in it. You know, if somebody gets stranded in the past and they're waiting for somebody to come pick them up, the clock is not ticking in the past. You know, like if someone's going to come pick them up, they could do it instantly. Like there would be no delay. There would be no reason to sit around and wait, because that's how time travel works. You know, they could return to that point in time and get them out, and there wouldn't be any sitting around waiting for help or waiting for rescue. The logic does not track. And for me, logic is a pretty big deal. And time travel stories in general, they really only work when the focus is not on the time travel and the mechanics of it, but more about the people involved and things like that. Like Back to the Future, terrible for time travel, but still a really good story and still very entertaining, and everybody likes it, and I like it too. So even though it gives me tired head when I think about the time travel part of it, but yeah, time travel feels like, and I hate this, but for a lot of science fiction especially, it's kind of lazy. It's like a way for writers to fuck around with stuff without having any responsibility and kind of like do whatever the fuck they want. I don't love that, because the ramifications of time travel in a real world scenario would be so incredibly different from the way they play it. And I get that we have to suspend a certain amount of disbelief to enjoy fiction and things like that. That's totally fine. Again, I enjoy Back to the Future, even though it's so dumb when it comes to the time travel part. But yeah, for myself, that audio kind of made me uncomfortable from the start because the logic just didn't follow for me. And unless the logic is nobody is coming back for her, which I think is the implication. That's kind of how I left it. And then it sort of becomes a fish out of water story, which is fine, but that's not the same thing. You know what I mean? So like, I could in theory continue it, but it wouldn't be the same story. It would just be, you know, Stranger in a Strange Land kind of vibes and not time travel. Because at this point, we have already established no one's coming back, because if they could, they already would. That like this conversation would never have happened. So that's one of the reasons why the time travel stuff kind of rubs me the wrong way. The idiot who tried to claim ownership of ABO. Yeah, she... Addison Kane. Man, she's fun. Yeah, she didn't try to claim ownership of ABO, which is not a trope. That's a genre. But there are tropes within that genre. She tried to accuse other writers of plagiarism because they were using the same tropes that she was using within that genre, which of course not possible. But when it came down to it, her former publisher admitted in court that they had sent faulty and illegal DMCA takedown notices and bore the responsibility for that. And she claimed she didn't know anything about those DMCA takedown notices, but discovery showed that she absolutely did know about those takedown notices because she asked her publisher to send them. And so technically she committed perjury, but never faced any sort of consequences for that I know of. So yeah, she's a real hoot. I love hearing about Addison Kane. Drama, drama, drama. But yes, you cannot copyright tropes. You cannot own genres. It doesn't work that way. Anyway. And see, the whole concept of time having inertia doesn't track as far as our understanding of science as it is. Now, Star Trek gets around a lot of this stuff with things like bubbles. Like warp travel exists because of static warp bubbles, things like that. Like if we can fold space, if we can bubble space, we can make that work. But when it comes to time travel, like the worst one by far is Bill and Ted, at least that I've seen. And again, I love that movie. It is dumb cheese. It is amazing, hilarious, dumb cheese. But boy, is it dumb, you know? And the time travel is so stupid. It's so stupid. Like they try to use it in parts as a tool, like to remind themselves to do things later. But then you invite that paradox of what if they don't go back and do it later? Because they even said that. They're like, what if we forget? We're not going to forget. We just did it. It's like, haha. No, that's not how it works. You can't just do that. Really, the only time time travel works as a device is if you're basically suggesting that every time you move through time, you are generating a new timeline. And that in the other timeline, you just cease to exist. In that scenario, it can kind of work as like a multiverse kind of thing. But that feels kind of cop-outy to me. So, and then you get into the issues of like, do you retain memories? Do you know what? It's just, there's a lot, and it's, the paradox of it is almost insurmountable in a lot of ways if you're trying to practically apply it to a story. And again, most of the time we just suspend our disbelief and go forward because we want a good story. But for me, writing it, those logistics become frustrating as hell. Like I genuinely struggle because I want it to make sense, and rarely does it make sense. So, false copyright claimers getting the smack. So, the thing is, it's very difficult as a creator. So the DMCA, you guys know the DMCA is, it basically exists to protect the platforms, because otherwise platforms like YouTube would be completely legally on the hook every time somebody uploaded something that didn't belong to them. So the DMCA is sort of a good faith thing. Like the platforms will in good faith operate expecting people to only upload things that belong to them. And if they get a notice that says, hey, this person uploaded something that doesn't belong to them, they will then take that thing down. which is really no skin off their nose. That's why most of the time when someone files a DMCA, the platform will just take that thing down, because even if they have the resources to investigate every time, they're not going to, because it doesn't matter. They don't really care who owns the property. They just care that they got a notice and they don't want to be held legally liable, so they take it down. You can then challenge and be like, no, that notice was filed in error. And at that point, they're supposed to do more of an investigation. But ownership of digital property can become increasingly hairy, so a lot of times you just kind of shit out of luck. And that's why people like Addison Kane and her publisher, I should specify her publisher, basically weaponize the use of DMCAs. And she's not the only one. Like, there's a lot of bad faith actors out there who weaponize DMCAs by sending these, multiple takedown notices across multiple platforms, basically in an effort to deplatform people that either they don't like or they think are competition. And that is not a good faith use of a DMCA takedown. That is illegal. And when you get called on it, you can suffer for it. But by and large, it's a huge uphill battle for the person who got taken down, because they have to then turn around and prove that, yes, they do own that property, and make the platforms give a shit. Because again, if the platform doesn't take it down, they are then legally liable if it is someone else's property. So it's like a safe harbor kind of thing. So they can be weaponized. They have been weaponized in the past. Hopefully things will get better, because faulty claims and faulty takedown notices, as we start to name and shame the people that do that, hopefully that will become less of a thing. But yeah, as of now, it is still a potentially problematic thing. Dumb cheese. Hi, cheese. I see you. Fictional time travel, the SG1 episode. Yeah, sometimes it's done well, and even then you're still gonna kind of suspend your disbelief. But they care if that person makes them a lot of money. Yeah, that's part of it. And Lindsay Ellis, who's a creator that I really like, when she made a video about Addison Kane and the whole ABO thing, she got a takedown notice for that video. And she was surprised because the notice was sent to Patreon, because she had a Patreon, and that's how she, her channel made money. And the video was actually on YouTube, but it was also hosted on Patreon for her subscribers. And they sent the DMCA notice to take it down on Patreon. Patreon is not, this huge company. So they contacted her and they were like, this is weird. And she was like, yeah, it is. And so just to be safe, they basically unlinked the video for like 10 days or something, and then linked it back again, which was all they had to do legally. And she was like, but why did they send it to Patreon and not YouTube? Like, that's where the content is. That's where the video is. It's on YouTube. And it turns out they did send it to YouTube. They sent a DMCA takedown to YouTube. But it was so blatantly not a good faith DMCA takedown notice that YouTube didn't even take her video down. Like, they basically just sent her a notice that said, hey, we got this takedown notice. It's crap. We're not going to listen to it, but just letting you know. And like, that's a huge gamble for a platform to take. They are basically putting themselves on the line by doing that. And most of the time, they're not going to give it that kind of thought. But she was a big enough creator, and the DMCA in question was so egregious that YouTube didn't even take down her video. They just sort of let her know that the complaint had been made and that they were not going to listen to it. So, yeah. So occasionally, if you're a big enough creator and the DMCA takedown is a, because I imagine YouTube gets them a lot, especially for, well, I mean, they get them for a lot of things, obviously. You'll get them for reaction content. Hopefully we get more of them for reaction content, because more often than not, that is basically just taking somebody's video. And one of the ways to define this, as far as like whether something is worthy of a DMCA takedown, is not fair use, let's say. So, because we're talking about fair use, and reaction content tries to claim that this is fair use because in some things you can take people's intellectual property and use it. You can even monetize it. You can make videos reacting to things or reviewing things or doing parodies of things. These are all fair use, and nobody can stop you from doing that. That's totally legal. The problem with reaction content, though, is that frequently they don't give credit. Frequently they just show the entirety of a video without comment, without actual like reaction other than to say, whoa, or something like that. And when it comes to fair use, one of the issues with it is, does this replace the market for that? So if a big reaction content YouTuber shows your video, shows a video that you posted on TikTok or something, shows it in its entirety and just goes, whoa, and then moves on, does that replace the market for your video? And the answer is probably yes, because people aren't going to watch that reaction content and then go watch your video. At that point, they have now seen your video, so they're not going to go look for your video. As opposed to like a movie reviewer who shows a few clips of a movie and talks about it, but doesn't sit and show the whole thing, which means that's not replacing the market for that movie. That's talking about the movie, giving a couple little teasers of it, just enough content basically. Fair use comes down to, are you using just enough content to make your point and no more? So showing just enough content to make their point about whatever they're trying to say, and then the rest is up to you. You can go see that movie or not based on what they say, but they're not just sitting there screening the whole movie and basically replacing the market for it. So that's why I hope reaction content becomes a thing of the past, because it's super lazy. B, it does tend to basically take other people's intellectual property and appropriate it without credit and without compensation. And C, it is not fair use, and we shouldn't let people think that it's fair use. You know, it's absolutely not fair use. So, and that's a whole other can of worms that we're not going to get into, but yeah, I guess I got into it a little bit, didn't I? What's a scene in a show or movie that broke your suspension of disbelief? So for me, one of the things that really fucks with my disbelief, my suspension of disbelief in a movie, is when there's a phone conversation happening and there's not enough time for a dialogue to take place. Like someone answers the phone and goes, hello, yeah, really? And it's like, they're responding so fast that there's no way anybody's giving them any information. Like, that throws me out every time. And maybe part of it has to do with what I do, like part of my dialogue job, but like nothing messes with me more than watching people have a phone conversation in a movie and knowing that there's no way that's a conversation. That plus the other thing that always throws me off is when someone's holding a cardboard takeout cup of coffee and it is clearly empty. Like, fucking hell, prop department, weight those cups. Just put it doesn't have to be liquid inside. Put something in it to give it some heft so that when people are carrying it around the streets of New York, it's not obviously some empty cup that they're just tossing around. Like, put something in it. Put some weights in it. I beg you. Please. The part Raptor down. Yeah, Jurassic World was a hot mess. Everyone thinks they're MST3K, and honestly, I like funny reaction content. First of all, MST3K and later Riff Tracks, when they show a whole movie, they licensed that movie. That's not fair use because they paid for that. So they actually, paid the licensing fee, which is a huge chunk of their budget, to screen that movie in its entirety so they can sit and make fun of it. So that's they're doing it right. They're paying for that. And the second thing is, what they're doing is transformative. Fair use should be transformative. You're taking somebody's content and you are transforming it in a way that makes it different and again does not replace the market. So a critic is transforming the content. Maybe, for example, Cinema Therapy, I think that's one of the YouTube channels where they sit and they'll watch clips of a movie and they'll talk like a therapist is watching, and we'll talk about the relationship in the movie and how it works and how it doesn't and stuff like that. So that's transformative because that movie just exists, but what they're doing is they're taking that movie and using it to have conversations about healthy relationships and healthy modeling and stuff like that. That's a completely separate thing. And so that's transformative fair use. MST3K, I find pretty transformative in the sense that they are absolutely, laughing at it the whole time. But even then, they still go to the trouble of fully licensing the content that they use just in case. Another example is Weird Al. Weird Al does a lot of parody content. Parody is fair use, and technically Weird Al would never need to ask permission for any of that, but he always does. He always gets permission from the artist and the label before he does a parody. And if they retract their permission, he stops putting that song out there for monetization. Case in point, when he did a parody of Beautiful, was it James Blunt, I think, sang Beautiful? And he did a cover of a parody of it called Pitiful. And it was fucking hilarious. And then Atlantic Records, I believe, was the label, decided they didn't want to play After All and withdrew their consent for it. And he could have said, fuck you, this is a parody, that's fair use. But instead, he took it down everywhere as far as like monetizing it goes. But I think he still plays it live sometimes because it's a concert at that point, and who cares? But yeah, so, and that's why in the White and Nerdy video, you see him editing the Wikipedia page for Atlantic Records by writing "you suck" in big letters. That's because they withdrew their support of his parody for Pitiful. So yeah, technically he could have just said fuck off, I'm doing it. But it's usually better to play nice for legal reasons. I hate the way Harry Potter handles time travel. I hate it. I hate the time turner. It's a stupid MacGuffin. Don't even get me started on Harry Potter writing. It's pretty crap, and it starts to break down pretty hard when you start digging on it. So yeah, that's a whole other thing. Yeah, content theft is one thing, which we are not okay with. True reaction content would be transformative, and again, only using as much of the intellectual property as you need to make your point. Just screening other people's videos is not fair use. Ever. Even if you give credit, which they don't half the time, which is still shitty, but like even if they did, even if they give credit. And this applies to other things too. Nothing pisses me off more in the VA space than when I see a VA who's got a thumbnail that's clearly not theirs. Like they have art on that thumbnail that clearly does not belong to them because they just went out and did a search for like, you know, hot elf girl or something on Google, took the art, and then in their description, they just say credit to the artist. They don't know who the artist is. They did not even bother figuring out who drew this in the first place. They don't know who owns it. They just think putting credit to the artist will protect them. It doesn't. That is theft. And there was a thing like a year or two ago where a bunch of VAs got hammered because they were very obviously using stolen images for their thumbnails. And even if you go to a site that says, oh, this is all free, you can just use it. Probably not. Probably that's stolen too. If you're not paying for access to stock footage and stuff like that, it's probably stolen. You know, like just because a site aggregates it and says, oh, you can use all this, it's still up to you as the creator to do your due diligence and make sure that the stuff that you are using in your creations is legally accessible to you. And if you don't do your due diligence, you're just lazy and stupid. Let's face it. Kevin MacLeod, yeah. I think the argument can be made that Kevin MacLeod has, even if he came back now and tried to lock down all of his music and, you know, put it behind a paywall, I think you could make the argument that like certain things would be grandfathered in because it is so pervasive, like legally speaking, or we would all just have to go take his music out of everything we do, which would be a pain, but doable, you know, like if it comes to that, those are his songs at the end of the day. We are all very grateful that Kevin MacLeod does not copyright his music and makes it all widely accessible because he's very talented. Spacesuit shining in the astronaut's face. Yeah. Yeah, that's just a lighting decision. And yeah, Chris, you know how I feel about people repeating stuff during conversations. I hate that. Yeah, some reaction content is fine. Again, reaction content is fine as long as it is transformative, as long as it contributes something, as long as it is truly fair use. And I'm there for it. Like, I like cinema therapy. I like MST3K type stuff. I like Alex Myers, you know, stuff like that. That's fine. Because again, they are only using what they need to make their point, and they are making points of their own. They are giving their thoughts and feelings about the thing that they are showing. That is totally legitimate reaction content. It contributes something to the narrative and doesn't replace the market for that particular piece of media. That is totally fine. That is where the line is for me. made it available for free on its website. That's cool. Cyberman, thank you so much for the super chat. Thank you, thank you. I like the rose. That's pretty. Have I had anyone use any of my thumbnails or anything else I made? Posture check. Yeah, that's a good idea. I have had some of my content show up in a couple of other places. I don't go looking for it. I figure that if something of mine shows up somewhere and somebody sees it, they will let me know. I know there were people on 4chan that were asking for it at some point, especially the NSFW stuff that I used to do, which is all, on Patreon, so it was paywalled, and there were people asking for somebody to go join the Patreon and get that content and post it to 4chan. I don't know if they ever did. I have no way of knowing that. I have no way of knowing if they succeeded. I haven't gone to look. I know there are some both Spotify playlists and YouTube channels that will just take other VA's content and like multiple VA's content and just repost it. Again, I haven't been told if any of mine, because I'm not going to like spend hours of my day scouring the internet in case my shit's posted somewhere else. Like, that's a waste of my time. I just trust that people will tell me if it pops up. Anytime somebody that I know tweets about it, I will go check the channel they mentioned and make sure my stuff's not there. So far, I've been pretty good about flying under the radar and haven't gotten hit too hard with that kind of thing. My thumbnails for sure have not, which is good, because like I commission all that art, so that's mine, and I commission it with a commercial license, because again, just commissioning art is not good enough. That still does technically belong to the artist unless you acquire a commercial license. It says you can then use it for monetization purposes, and even then, the commercial license may not cover everything. Places like Adobe Stock and iStock Photo, the commercial license covers most uses, but it does not cover things like merch. So I couldn't take some of that art and print it like on a shirt or something. For that, you would need an extended license. Again, it is your responsibility as a creator to know how these things work and to make sure that you are always operating within the bounds of legality, because if you are not, you could get slapped hard and it would be entirely your fault. I am a stickler for owning the property that I use. I write my own scripts, I commission my own art, and I make sure that I don't ever use anybody's IP overtly, because that is not mine to use. I'm never going to do My Hero Academia. Like, I'm not going to mention the IP like so many VAs do. And again, I realize most of the time they don't get slapped because, it's exhausting to chase all that shit down, to be honest. But if they were to get slapped, that's your monetization gone, if not your channel, So it's not worth it. It's just not fucking worth it to just, like, don't be lazy, make your own IP. And the same goes for scripts. Like, there's plenty of people out there writing scripts and saying, oh, you can use this, it's free. But they also may withdraw that consent at any time, and then you are fucked. And I like writing my own scripts. I like having that kind of creative control. I like writing it for my own voice, and I'm a writer first. That's always been my job. So writing the scripts is the no-brainer for me. I'm never going to use other people's scripts. I don't like it. Unless I'm doing a collab, of course, and somebody asks me to come do a collab for their channel and they write me a script. It's like, okay, as long as it fits, as long as I feel comfortable with it, I'll do it. But like, even then, sometimes when I'm doing a collab, I'll feel kind of about it because I didn't write it. It doesn't sound like me. It doesn't feel like me. So yeah, but script theft is a thing. I had a patron for a while that was basically stealing my scripts by listening to my audios and then sort of writing his own scripts that were almost word for word the same as mine. Like, obviously not completely the same because I don't post my scripts anywhere. They're in a private Google Drive, like, massive archive at this point, because I tend to do between 75 and 100 pages a month of scripts, and that's around 15,000 words a month. So there's a lot. But this guy was going in and sort of manually rebuilding my scripts for himself and then recording them. And somebody told me about it, because in his own comments, people were saying, this sounds an awful lot like Urban Nymph's this and Urban Nymph's that. And the ones he was choosing to copy were things like the Blizzard series, which is fairly unique. It's not like a very standard, like, cuddle and comfort audio. It's the Blizzard series. And he did that. And people were saying things to him like, hey, this sounds like her stuff. And he would respond and be like, wow, that's weird. Haha, I guess great minds think alike, or what a coincidence, or something like that. And this guy had been my patron for like months. So he knew about my content. He knew damn well about my content. So when somebody finally came and told me about it, I challenged him on it. And I went and listened to some of it. And I was like, bruh, this is my stuff. Like, you can't just do that. You can't just take somebody's content. And he tried to argue it a little bit. And I was like, if you do not take it down, I am going to put you on blast. Like, because God knows who else you've done this to. Like, I don't think his thumbnails were legit either. I think he was stealing art for those too, but that wasn't my business. My issue was the scripts. And he did. He took them down. And I think he took his whole channel down eventually, because I don't think I was the only person he was doing that to. And I think people got mad enough about it that he finally just took everything down. But yeah, like, don't fucking do that. Write your own stuff, or find, like, either purchase scripts legitimately, or find scriptwriters that are okay with you doing it for free, knowing that they could revoke that at any time and you will have to take it down. Like, that's totally fine. So have a good night, Greg. How Avengers Endgame handled time travel. I've only seen that movie once. I don't recall, like most of the time I'm not going to be okay with time travel in movies, I'll be perfectly honest, but I don't recall it being something that I had, like, got bent out of shape about at the time, so I'm going to say it was probably fine. So, whatever. Yes, slam your medicine, matcha. The colds are going around, man. How the legality works on the internet with the law can cross borders. Yeah, different countries have different laws. And some are stricter than others when it comes to these things. And also things like access for children and stuff like that. So it is very important. Like, individual countries can strike you for different things, or people within those countries can strike you for different things. And it's impossible to keep up constantly with, like, it's kind of the platform's responsibility. YouTube as a platform, when you upload things, will ask things like, is this content for kids, things like that, because they are trying to comply with the majority of laws in the world regarding things like access children have to the internet and stuff like that. So the platform will do its best to make sure that you are in compliance, because it is absolutely no good for the platform if you suck. You know, if you put up a bunch of shit that they have to take down or they have to deal with, like, they're not going to want that. They don't, I mean, they have their terms of service, they have all that stuff. They're trying to make sure that you don't fuck up and that you don't fuck it up for them. Like, obviously the platform, and that's one of the reasons why they take the DMCA stuff so seriously. You know, and you guys know, like, when it comes to things like harassment and stuff, like, Sniper Wolf got a slap on the wrist for doxing Jack's films, even though according to YouTube's own terms of service, that should have been a bannable offense. So things like that, they don't take as seriously as they should, but they absolutely take DMCAs seriously, because that shit is where they will end up in court. So they have to take that seriously. Copyright and stuff like that, like, they don't care about defamation. They don't care about your feelings got hurt or anything like that, which, you know, when it comes to things like doxing, they really should care more about. But DMCAs, they will take seriously, which is why they can be so easily weaponized. Deranged crazy person stuff. Yeah, that was kind of deranged crazy person stuff. He thought, I guess it was one of those situations where he thought he could get away with it because he was, you know, he had his own channel. He was just rewriting my stuff for himself, tweaking a word here and there, which we all know is not how it works. You can't just do that. And then when people would call him on it, his excuses were very, like, it was pretty clear he knew what he was doing. And it wasn't just, oh, I listened to a bunch of audios and I got inspired, and so I wrote this, like, series. And it's like, you got inspired, huh? Like, which is another reason I'm kind of glad I don't listen to other VAs anymore, because I don't ever want anybody to come to me and be like, you copied me, which I guess could still happen, but, like, it would legitimately be an accident if it did, because I don't listen to any other VAs. So, but then again, we've talked about this before, genres and tropes are a thing, and it would be entirely possible for somebody to be like, hey, you copied my audio because there's, like, you know, 5 or 6 similar tropes in it or something, and that would not be plagiarism. That is not copying. It's just the fact that genres have tropes. So, and by and large, the VA community is not bad about it. By and large, it's like, okay, well, if everybody makes comfort audios or whatever, of course they're going to sound similar. They're going to have similar language and stuff like that. There's another VA who is also in my community, and he's very enthusiastic. He wants to help, things like that, which is fine. He's asked me questions about the business before, and I've tried my best to answer to a point, but like there has to be a boundary there. I can't just sort of like have my DMs open to anybody who asks questions all the time, because I would never be left alone, So like when people ask for help, or especially when people are like, hey, I want to do an audio, can you listen to it and tell me what you think? Generally speaking, the answer is no, because I don't have time. I can't. And I also don't want to set a precedent of being okay with doing that, because then it becomes, well, why'd you do it for so-and-so and not me, kind of thing. And it's like, I can't become a coach. I can't become like a free coach for people that want to do similar work or want to get into VA work or something like that. I don't have the resources to do that, unfortunately. And I don't ever want to like advertise myself as a coach, because I just do what works for me. I don't really, and I will happily talk about writing and how to write and how to do, good story structure and planting and payoff and things like that, because those are pretty standard in the industry. But I will never tell you guys how to do the job when it comes to VA stuff, because it's very different from person to person, and whatever works for you and whatever equipment you have and things like that. So, it varies drastically. But by and large, I don't really make myself available for that sort of thing. But anyway, this guy, he's fine. And he, trying to build a channel, is very focused on like yandere content, because I guess that's, when you look at it, those tend to do pretty well. They tend to perform pretty well. I'm not comfortable with yandere content. You guys know that. I don't do it, which fine. I think it's a little strange to make the bulk of your channel about a particular style like that. But I guess if that's your core competency, if that's what you're comfortable with, that's fine. It just feels kind of limiting to me, at least as a writer. Like I wouldn't want everything I write to be that, or to be one particular kind of thing. I like a little variety, whatever. But the thing that I thought was especially funny about this particular guy, and it's not a bad thing, it's just, it kind of caught me off guard, was that he basically came to me and said that he liked that I use sweetness. It's kind of my thing. And he wanted it to be his thing too. So he took it. And I think it was one of those like imitation is the sincerest form of flattery situations. But it's hard not to feel a little weird about that. Like obviously you can't copyright a word like that. You can't own a word like that. But to come to somebody and be like, this thing that you do that is unique to your brand, I'm going to do that too. It just felt a little strange. Like I know he meant well, and he continues to mean well, and that's totally fine. And he's a perfectly nice dude. But it was such a strange vibe to have somebody say that, I guess, and to be like this, I want to copy this thing that you do because it works for you, and I want to see if it works for me, and I like it, and it's my thing now too. And it was just sort of like, okay. I mean, I can't stop you. But like, of course, there was a part of me that was like, man, I kind of wish I could though. But it's a big community. There's a lot of people in it, very saturated market, and people are gonna overlap a lot, whether intentionally or accidentally. It's gonna happen. So, yeah. I thought he'd get lost in the sea. Yeah. Yeah, the guy that was taking the scripts, he just lost. He had to shut down. And there's other VAs that do that sort of thing. Like you hear about them. And the good news is anytime somebody does something like that, usually somebody on Twitter will let the rest of us know. So we can either go check and see if our stuff is there, or we can, know not to work with them if they reach out. One of those guys, actually, one that he's been on blast a few times, different guy. This guy's never had anything to do with me. But he has taken content from other people. He has been really shady in a lot of ways. And he keeps sort of rebranding himself under similar names to try and like escape. Like every time he gets shut down, he rebrands under a similar name. And he actually reached out to me on Instagram, weirdly, and like asked me to like promote his channel to my followers or something. Hold on, let me see if I still have it. Because it was really out of the left field, because he was like, I see that you're a follower of, insert some other VAs here. I wonder if you would like do me a solid. And it's like, no, I would not. Yeah, I think I deleted it. Hold on, let's see. Yeah, I think I deleted it. But it was just such a random, like, bruh, don't do that. Don't like slide to people's DMs and be like, hey, I see that you follow so-and-so. Why don't you follow me and also give me some props? And it's like, no. No, I will not. Yeah, good night. gaming. Have a good one. DM me a picture of a millipede. Go ahead. Updates on the wildfires. Okay, they are out around us as far as I can tell. It is still very, very hot and very windy, though, so I'm sure they are keeping an eye on it. We're hoping not to have to evacuate for a second day in a row. I have a potato and a voice like nails on a chalkboard. How can I be a VA? Literally, though. Like, and that's one of the reasons why I only collab with certain people, because some people do have, like, potato mics or, God forbid, like, just their phone to record into, and like that's fine. But when you're trying to do a collab where, like, let's say you've got several characters who are all allegedly in the same room, you kind of need to like baseline that quality, otherwise it's just not going to sound right. And that's something like when I do a collab with Lupus or with Maple or, you know, something like that, making it sound like we're in the same room is one of those challenges. I love doing the collabs, but they take on average like 4 times as much time to do as a solo audio, because, you know, not just counting the writing of their script side and just, you know, sending it to them and waiting for them to send back the lines, it is also that cleanup and balancing that is such a pain in my ass. Like, it's worth it in the end, but like even just getting the pause breaks right can be such a ugh. But I love it when it turns out well. Like, I love a good collab. And when I've got 7 or 8 audio channels overlapping at once in my Audacity and I'm like staring at it with crossed eyes, I tell myself it's going to be worth it. It's going to be worth it. It's going to turn out really good. It's going to be worth it. So yeah. Very stereotypical mouth breathing nerd voice. Voices are voices. Some people, like, you can have character to your voice without having to be like a standard sultry, you know, whatever commanding voice. Like, it doesn't all have to, we don't all have to be Lupus, I'll put it that way. Who's, you know, got so much range in his voice that it makes me kind of nuts how good he is. But and for me, like I've told you guys this before, nobody in my life has ever told me I had a good voice. I still don't know why I do this. I have no idea. I don't know why I started. I can't figure it out. I look back and I'm like, why did I buy a microphone instead of just writing scripts for other people like I used to do? Why did I do that? I don't know. All I can think of is that I was at a point in my life where I just kind of, you know, metaphorically wanted to be heard. And that's what I did. I don't know. I don't know how I got here. But you guys seem to like it, so I guess I'll keep doing it. A clean sounding voice. I was always the kid in class that was asked to read out loud, or was asked to, like, when we had a parade or a pageant or something, would have to read the names of all the other kids in class as they came in, you know. But I was told that was because I could pronounce everything properly. I knew how to pronounce my friends' names. I knew how to read words out loud because I was, you know, a very early reader, so I could mostly pronounce things. So that's why I was always given those jobs. It had nothing to do with the sound of my voice. It had everything to do with my ability to say words right. So, yeah. I've got so many pictures of, like my first communion and, like, the Thanksgiving pageant when I was 7 and things like that. And in every shot, I'm the one at the podium with a microphone, while everybody else gets to do something fun, like be a turkey. I was a little pilgrim kid with a microphone. That's legit. Now you're here and we're here. I know, right? It's been a hell of a journey. I did not expect 4 years and change ago that we were about to enter the era of COVID and that things were all going to come crashing down in a couple of different ways, and that I would end up living in Australia with a wolf boy streamer who's really good in a crisis. So, did not expect any of that. Your voice is bleh. I mean, is it though? Is it bleh? Are you sure? I bet it's pretty good. I bet there's things about it that are good. You just gotta give yourself a chance. Again, character. If you listen to, like, voices in anything, like anime dubs and stuff like that, like, they're not all sexy, sultry voices. Some of them are nasally, some of them are annoying, some of them are high-pitched or gravelly or whatever. Like, you need that character. It's just like actors. there's always room for that kind of thing. Ozzy, Ozzy, Ozzy. You guys are so hard on yourselves. I wish you weren't. I'm sure you're better than you think. But I also know that it's not everybody's thing. Like, I don't have any problem talking. I don't have any problem listening to my own voice. I know some people hate the sound of their own voice, and like to the point where they just cannot listen to it. I have no problem with that. I'll just, you know, when I'm doing my own audio editing, I'll just open the file and dive into it. And it's almost, I think it's partly because I don't even associate it with myself. It's like I'm listening to somebody else talk, and I just do it. Like, it doesn't bother me at all. But I know a lot of people hate it because we don't sound at all like we think we do when we're talking. And honestly, sometimes I'm pleased. Like, if I'm recording, during the recording, I will like, oh God, I sound so nasally. I sound so sick. Like, my allergies are kicking off. It sounds bad. And then I'll go and do the edit and be like, oh, none of that came through. Like, it sounds fine. Yay. I don't sound like I'm about to sneeze. So sometimes I pleasantly surprise myself. But yeah, I have no problem with that. I don't ever have a problem clicking the go live button on streams. Like, I know some people kind of take a minute, take a breath. Like, for a second they get nervous. I do not care. I figure if there's scuff, you guys can roll with it with me. Like, it's fine. It doesn't bother me. So yeah, like, I don't know why, but it's just never really bothered me to be public in that way. Which I guess is a good thing. But again, I always like to have some preparation. I like to be speaking from a place of knowledge. When it comes to the acting stuff, I like to have a script. I'm not that, you know, I haven't had a lot of experience with like improv and RP and stuff. Really just D&D is the only place I've done that. So I'll probably end up doing more of it there, but you know, that kind of thing, I always feel better with a script. I feel better being prepared and knowing what I'm going to say. Bonus points if I wrote it myself, because then I really know what I'm going to say. Yeah, you worked for your voice, Victoria. That's amazing. If you would listen back to your own voice being all faux lovey-dovey. So, and again, that's one of the things about my audios that I know doesn't always help me, but especially when it comes to the comforting, caring type stuff, like most of the time that's just how I sound, you know, like when I'm trying to be comforting and caring, that's just my normal voice when I do those things, which can backfire because then like when I use that voice in real life, Lupus is like, you sound like you're doing an audio, and it's like, I don't mean to be, it's just the same voice. Like it's kind of not acting. My best way of acting is to just not act and just show up and talk the way I would in that situation, which I guess is technically acting, but for me feels just like being myself in a given situation. And again, if there's crying that's required, I will just make myself cry for real so it sounds right, because fake crying sounds dumb. So yeah, being as real as possible with it has always kind of been the way that I handle sounding legit and not cringe with my stuff. That said, I will never be like, oh my God, I just love you so much. But like, I can't do that. That's not how I talk. I don't know anybody that talks like that. And it's totally fine if you do, but like for me, that's not my style, so I'm not gonna do it. Whew, man, we've been talking for a bit. This is fun though. I like these hangouts with you guys. I like when you guys have questions about stuff. I like when you have opinions about stuff. I haven't gotten off on too much of a rant today, which is nice, because I feel like I do that a lot. Fake crying, frying. Fake crying just doesn't have the same vibe, you know, it doesn't carry the same emotional weight, I guess. But like I've said before, the hardest thing about doing the real crying in audios is turning it off, because once you get started on a good cry, it can be really hard to stop. So hard. If I worked on Lupus's hypothetical orchard, I mean, I could pick fruit. That's fine. I would probably stay in the house and do cooking and stuff a lot. I like to cook and make stuff out of the stuff in the orchard. Pies and shit. Yeah, I like to cook and like leave the writing of the perimeter fence to him. That sounds fair. Least I can do is feed him, right? It's a cool, fun chat stream. I think so. I like these. I do like these. I like these vibes a lot. I like being able to connect with you guys and see some of you guys that don't hang out over on Twitch to come over here and hang out here. So, and I realize I have some strong opinions about things and your mileage may vary and blah, 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 but like, would I have a farm dog and why isn't it Albie? If I had a farm dog, it'd probably be like an Australian Shepherd or a Border Collie, something really smart and physical. Like if you need the dog to work, I guess. Kind of want an apple pie now. Same. I want like a McDonald's apple pie. Just like a little flaky pocket of fruit. That sounds really nice. Maybe I'll convince Lupus to take us out today. I need to go to the post office. They tried to deliver a package yesterday while we were actively evacuated. So it's at the post office now. I need to go pick it up. Which is totally fine. But like, there is a Macca's right there. Ooh, gingerbread. Yeah, make gingerbread. That sounds nice. Lose your voice if you talk for a couple hours straight. Yeah, it's definitely a practice thing and staying hydrated and stuff like that. When I first started streaming, because I did the audio channel for like a year, nearly a year, like 9 months or something before I started streaming. And when I first started streaming, it was really challenging because A, no script, and I was a little bit worried that I was going to say or do something really stupid or get canceled. And B, yeah, that just sitting there talking the whole time thing, like I wasn't really prepared for it. I think I did okay, but it did like take it out of me. After 2 or 3 hours, I felt like I could sleep for the rest of the day. Like it was just exhausting to be on like that. And it took a few weeks before I finally got to the point where I could like end a stream and then go do something else and like, you know, go about my day. And now that I'm in Australia, I do all my streams first thing in the morning, which means the whole rest of the day needs to be productive. I start the day like this, and then I go, you know, record and work on audios and edit and render and upload and do all the social media shit and write scripts, which I need to do today, actually. So, yes. Everything comes after the stream, so I better have energy to do it. That's so auspicious. I know, right? Like, I got the alert that they're like, your package is coming today. I'm like, cool. And then we get the fire thing, we evacuate. Literally, as we're evacuating, like, we get to Lupus' sister's house, and I get an email that says, we tried to deliver your package, but nobody was home. I'm like, you fucking think? Like, why were you even there? Did you even try? You shouldn't have tried. What the fuck were you doing delivering mail in this? Go home, post it, you're drunk. You can run Twitch now? Yeah, Twitch is fun. If you guys, like I said, if you don't follow me on Twitch, you should, because I do stream a lot of games. I'm not good at them, but they're fun, and we get to hang out and talk about whatever, and it tends to be a good vibe. Sometimes I play with people that are good, like Lupus and Zeke and Kisu, and then they can carry me, which is nice. There is no chance that the Aussie McDonald's is doing the maple bacon quarter pounder. That is strictly a Canadian thing, I guarantee it. Like, the flavor of maple is not that big a deal here. It exists, but it's not like the be-all end-all. December only Christmas person. Lupus has given me permission to put up the tree 5 days early this year because I've been very good. So I'm absolutely going to do it. So I got 3 days left until I get to put up the tree. Actually, no, 2 days left. The 25th. Oh, because today is Thursday here. Yes. I'll probably wait until we get back from his mom's, though. If we do manage to go out of town for a couple of days. There's no point in putting up the tree and then immediately leaving. Good night, Corvus. Have a good one. Yeah, rain nor sleet nor hail. Yeah, they don't mention a fire. Fire is dumb. Don't drive into fire. Lupus soft-hearted Arkham. I mean, he knows how into Christmas I get, and I've been very, very careful not to go too hard and like overwhelm him or anything, but like I like it, so yeah, it's kind of him to allow me to. Like in the States, everybody be putting up their trees this coming weekend because it's always the weekend after Thanksgiving that people do that. So we're just tracking with that, you know? Thanksgiving is the official transition point because you do Thanksgiving and you watch the parade, the Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade in the morning. At the end of the parade is always Santa Claus. He comes, he's the very last float, he rides up, and it's like, ta-da, the ushering in of Christmas, the ushering in of the holidays. It's the official, now you may start. At least in the States. But since there's no Thanksgiving here, we don't have that. So, have a good one, Kalana. Fire bad. Yeah, fire bad, tree pretty. Okay, guys, I think I'm going to wrap up there. It's been a couple hours, and I do need to eat something. What time is it? 10 a.m. Okay. I need to eat something so I can take my iron. But yeah, I enjoy these hangouts with you guys. This is always fun. We do this twice a month here on YouTube, and I do it a bunch of other times during the week on Twitch. So definitely find me over there. And like I said before, if you do try the Rogue Energy thing, please let me know what you think. I'm genuinely curious, because I know everybody's got different tastes and different taste buds. So depending on what you like and what you don't like, I would like to know. So yeah, I will transition this over. And yeah, I'll be back tomorrow for Patron Pick Game Night over on Twitch. And then the next day is Aussie Dashcam Bingo on Twitch. So make sure you are ready for that. We're going to have so much fun. It better work. I really hope it works. Anyway, be good. I'll talk to you soon.